Blessings, guys. It's me, Carlos. I just wanted to share another quick video with you today. I had an opportunity to share Christ with an individual, and this particular individual believed in a higher power, but he could not understand why that higher power had to be Jesus. He had an issue with who Jesus was, and he's not the only one. Many people have an issue with who Jesus was. I mean, they know he existed. It's obvious that he exists. You got very few people that say he didn't exist, or he was a mythical figure or whatever. But for the most part, most people know he existed. It's who Jesus was that they wrestle with. Some say he was just a good man. Some say, he was a good prophet. He was a great humanitarian or a philosopher, or something of that nature. But I want to submit to you today that's probably or is the most important question that you will ever have to answer. And that question is who Jesus is. Your eternal destiny hangs on your answer to that question, or the conviction that you have about who Jesus is. Jesus asked his disciples the very same question, and I want to take a look at it today. Okay, so we're going to be in Mark chapter 8, verse 27. It says, "And Jesus went out and his disciples into the towns of Caesarea and Philippi. And by the way, he asked his disciples, saying unto them, Whom do men say that I am? And they answered, John the Baptist, but some say Elias, and others say one of the prophets. And he said unto them, But whom do you say that I am? And Peter answered and said unto him, Thou art the Christ." Matthew 16, verse 13 reads, "When Jesus came into the coast of Caesarea and Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, Whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? Verse 14, "And they said, Some say that thou art John the Baptist, some say Elias, and others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets." Verse 15, he said, "But whom do you say that I am?" And Peter answered and said, Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. In verse 17, "And Jesus answered and said unto him, Blessed art thou, Simon of Barjona. Flesh and blood hath not revealed it unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven." So Jesus asked his disciples the very same question. Who do men say that I am? Right? And people struggle with it even in that day. Right? You got to understand this. Jesus had been around for some time, and he had taught, he had preached, he had healed, he had cast out demons. He had did miraculous things like stopping storms just with his word, right? He said, "Be still, peace be still," and the storms would stop. He told demons to come out, and demons responded, right? He did some great things. He was no ordinary person among them, and people struggled with understanding who he was. He said, "What are people saying about me?" Well, Jesus, some saying that you are John the Baptist, and some say that you are Elijah, and some say that you are Jeremiah or one of the other prophets. And you notice Jesus didn't spend any time dwelling on what others were saying. He looked to his disciples and he said, "But who do you say that I am?" The question was really important for the disciples, right? The disciples had walked with Jesus, talked with Jesus. They had inside teaching and preaching. They saw his life publicly, and they saw his life privately. And not only that, but they also had the scriptures. And so when Jesus says, "Who do you say that I am?" you got to understand Peter's response when he says, "Thou art the Christ," right? When he says this, right, you got to understand what he's saying and what's happening here. The Old Testament scriptures from Genesis on speak of one who is to come. One who is to come, who is going to deliver his people from oppression. One who is to come, who is going to rule the nation with righteousness and justice. One who is to come, who's going to rule the world with righteousness and justice. One who is to come that is going to save people from their sins, from the bondage and the snare of Satan. There was one who was to come. He was called the Anointed One. He was called the Messiah. He is called the Christ. And so Peter is thinking about all that he knew from the scriptures, and he's looking at all that was foretold about this Christ and this Messiah, and he's looking at Christ's life. He's looking at what he's seen and heard publicly. He's looking at what he's seen and heard privately, and he all of a sudden says, "You are the Christ." You are the Christ, the Son of the living God. This confession and profession is so important. This is what the church hangs on. You cannot rightfully call yourself a Christian if you don't have this conviction, if you don't have this revelation. Your eternal destiny, right, is this is why I say this is the most important question you'll have to answer. Your eternal destiny hangs on you having this conviction or this revelation of who Christ is. You are the Christ, right? The Son of the living God. And Matthew records Jesus's response. He says, "Blessed art thou, Simon Peter, for flesh and blood have not revealed this to you." Right? No human teacher has been able to turn that light bulb on and give you that conviction. He says, no flesh and blood hasn't revealed this to you, but my Father in heaven. Right? So this revelation of who Christ is, of Christ and his kingdom, came by God, came by way of God opening Peter's eyes. Right? Listen, you can have all the information in the world about Jesus, but until it becomes revelation, it won't be life-changing. You can have all the information about Jesus there is you can find, but until it becomes revelation of who he is, it won't do anything. It won't do anything to you. It won't bring any type of change in your life. Right? It's just information. It's mama and daddy's job to teach you Christ. It's the pastor and elders calling to teach you Christ. But it's your job to seek out Christ and get that personal revelation for yourself. And once you get it, it is life changing. It is life changing. How do you get that revelation? How do you get that revelation of who Jesus is? Well, I encourage you to spend time with Jesus. How do I do that? Well, we have his word. Right? I would encourage you to go through Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John and closely pay attention to Jesus and his teachings. Pay attention to what he says and the claims he makes. Pay attention to what's said about him. Pay attention to what he does. Right? And all along be praying, God, open my eyes, open the eyes of my heart, give me revelation. And I believe that God will open your eyes and heart to who Jesus is. And you will be like Peter. And you'll say, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. You'll have that same conviction. The conviction is important. The conviction is important for the very same reasons it was important for the disciples. You're going to be tested. You're going to be tried. Things are going to happen in your life. Trials and persecutions. You may have to deal with health issues. You may have to deal with financial issues. You may have to deal with things out of your control, persecution and things of that nature. And you're going to want to know. You're going to have that conviction who Jesus is. You may even have a time when you're forced to deny who he is. And you need to have that conviction like Peter had and like the disciples had. You are the Christ. You are the one who is to come. You are the great deliverer. You are the anointed one. You are the King of Kings. You are the Lord of Lords. You are my Savior. You are the Messiah. You are the one who we've been waiting for. And when you get that conviction in you, it's going to change your life. Spend some time in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Follow Jesus closely like the disciples. And I pray that you'll have that same conviction and revelation of who Jesus is. That's what he wants. That's why he came and he lived. He lived the perfect life that we could never live. And he died a death that he didn't deserve. So that whosoever believes on him, right? Whosoever believes on him shall be saved. That's why he did it. He wants you to believe on him. He don't want you just to believe he existed. He don't want you just to believe he was a good man. He don't want you just to believe that he was a prophet. He wants you to believe that he is the anointed one, that he is the one that was spoken about, the one who was to come, the one who was going to save man from their sins, the one who's going to rule in righteousness and justice, the one who, the great deliverer who wants to reside in your heart. He wants you to see and understand that that's who he is. You guys be blessed, and thank you for watching this video.